That's the bottom line. You want a war? You're gonna get one.
The cream rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you wanna get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Back for another Wednesday night of the bottom line. Are we ready
is there anything going on this week?
get this season kicked off, Eric?
I mean, I suppose, is there anything really going on? What's going on?
Well, I guess you could say it depends upon what team you're talking about. There's plenty going on with some teams. So
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we're opening the season, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
we're opening up the
about
season, so I
time.
suppose we better get to it.
So we're going in reverse order
Oh,
tonight.
man.
Going in reverse order tonight because we have some Eastern time zone guests and games going on that we want to make sure the viewership out there on the East Coast gets a chance to see the show. So good evening, Marty and Robert and Henry. Welcome to the show. Before we get started, let's go ahead and play the intro for our first matchup, which is the Birmingham Stallions at the DC Defenders, courtesy of the UFL.
We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the championships. So let's get more victories, more celebration.
He's got a chance. It won't be caught.
More unforgettable. More football. More of what you love. We love the energy in the air, the spring in full bloom, and the sun on our face when the district comes alive. So let's get more. More action, more celebration, more unforgettable. More football, more of what you love.
So the first game we're going to talk about is Birmingham traveling to DC. Let's bring on the guest. We've had him on earlier this season, but couldn't think of a better game to bring him back. So let's bring on Alex. Hey, Alex, how are you doing? You must be on mute, Alex.
Gotta unmute your mic.
Let's try it again.
There we go.
Hey, Ed.
There we go.
Hey, Eric.
There
How are
we
you
go.
guys?
It's good to have you back. before we get going too hot and heavy into the game, things have kind of been topsy-turvy in DC a little bit. Why don't you speak a little bit as to what's going on and how you see hopefully this playing out as we get into the season here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Memphis is dealing with a little bit of the same stuff, but ideally you don't want to lose your head coach 2 weeks before the season starts or a week and a half before the season starts. I know that Tennessee State's a great opportunity for Coach Barlow, full-time position opportunity to go and, run a college program. And that's where he came from. So, congratulations to him for landing the Tennessee State job. So a couple things. One, obviously not ideal going into the opening game to have that type of disruption. Shannon Harris will take over as head coach. I think that's, at first I was thinking, well, would they shift Greg Williams into that role since he was a former NFL coach? But I think it makes more sense for Coach Harris to lead the team because, when you think about it, think about the disruption from a coordinator standpoint for the offensive coordinator, defense coordinator. If head coach leaves, that's one position you're replacing. If you move a coordinator into the head coaching position, now you're taking him, putting him into an unknown as head coach, opening up another coordinator position that has to be filled. I think that would be step one. So now in hindsight, I think, Coach Harris is going to have a lot of help from both Coach Weiss and the other coaches, Coach Williams. They'll be in his ear during games. So that's one. But two, I think DC's built for this. There's continuity on the staff. So, I think that maybe if they were breaking a new offensive coordinator, new defense coordinator, I might be a little bit more worried about it. But I think, the stability on the staff lends itself nicely. It's not ideal, but I think if any team's built to handle it, it's us.
Yeah, and my initial thoughts when I first heard that it went down, I thought the defensive coordinator was the shoe-in replacement. But now that you make that point, it does make sense that, why completely, upset the apple cart and vacate the DC coordinator job as well. So,
yeah, because they're the head coaches. They're, if you think about it, you got Williams is going to run the defense, and you got Coach Keiss running the offense, and they're basically running their own show in game. And then the CEO's the head coach, and he's kind of overseeing it. And he's on the headsets, and he's go for it or punt it or take a field goal or whatever. But, he's got his assistant coaches who are going to help him out there a lot. So, and then again, it's not like Coach Harris hasn't been on the staff. These guys know each other. They have relationships. They've coached together. So we'll see. It's a great opportunity for Coach Harris, though, no doubt.
So, they always say with the lack of a preseason, a lot of these teams take a couple weeks to gel before they're truly playing their best football. So, how do you view this game coming up with Birmingham coming to town in week 1? Do you think it's a good thing to, play Birmingham right off the bat before maybe they've had a chance to gel, or, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm going to say yes, because I think we touched on it when I was on before. I think when you have a team like Birmingham in your opening game, it changes the whole tempo of your camp, your focus. I mean, these guys can say they weren't, a lot of them trying to make the team, but, the coaches and players can say they weren't peaking at who they have week 1. They were peaking at who they have week 1. So, I think that's in the back of everybody's mind. So I think that was a benefit. I think, too, we want to catch Birmingham early in the season because they'll be dealing with some of the issues DC will be dealing with. I think in spring football, the biggest thing that I've seen over the years in spring football is the offensive line play. Whoever can get their offensive line to gel the quickest, it's a huge advantage. DC's replacing half of their offensive line, so kind of an unknown there. So I think one of the keys we'll have to look for is, and we can talk more about this later, how well that offensive line holds up. So that's going to be super, super critical, to DC's success. But I'd say it's good to get Birmingham early. They get us early, but we get them early. But usually I think that helps the underdog team. And I think we're definitely, even though we're home, I think we would definitely be the underdog coming into this game.
And I think that, my initial thoughts on DC was the fact that DC's probably their strength is their defense. Offense, I think will tread water for a while till, Abram Smith is definitely a force. Yeah. They'll get him introduced, try to control the ball, the run game or whatever. But I think initially it's going to be up to DC's defense. So then the next question is, who is Birmingham going to start at quarterback? So here this last week, I had an opportunity to ask Coach Holtz that very question, and let's see what he had to say, and I'll follow that up with my follow question I had for that under the same quarterback topic. Have you made a decision on who your starting quarterback is going to be? And if not, when do you anticipate you'll be making that announcement?
Yeah, I have not at this point. I mean, I have been rolling both Matt and Alex very evenly. When you look at their numbers, they're both, they both had the same number of reps. If we have a 6-play rack, I may roll them every 3, I may roll them every 4. And then as cases begin to pick it up, I'm starting to include him a little bit. I told Case, I think the unfortunate thing for Case is he got into a 100-yard race with and they've got a 50-yard head start. I think it's just difficult because he came in a little bit later after all the installation. You can see for the first couple of days, he's behind the center. He's got smoke coming out of his ear holes. He's like, oh, wait a minute. Now, like protection, who's hot? What's this guy running? I mean, he's just got a whole lot going on his plate. But as he gets more and more comfortable, I feel like we have 3 very capable quarterbacks. And I'm really excited about that as you go through the course of an entire season. It's nice to know that you have 3 guys that you feel good enough that they can go win with. I know I've won with Alex, we've won with Matt, and I've watched Case win as we've played against him in the championship game. So all 3 of them are very capable and very talented. Need to continue to just bring Case along as he grows every day by leaps and bounds in this offense. But right now I have let those 2 roll as we made these decisions on cut day. Then we'll go through these this weekend. And then as we get into early part of next week, when we come back and start practice, I'm going to have to look at all.
So just one follow-up to that then. Do you anticipate that you'll, once you make your decision on who the starter will be, that that's kind of going to be how you approach the games? Or do you see where you may have a dual threat throughout the game depending on the flow?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's right now. I mean, last year I went in with definitely that mentality to play a 2-quarterback system. As it kind of evolved, it kind of turned into a 1-quarterback system. I don't know yet. I can't say, oh yeah, we're playing both. I can't, not yet. I mean, I think
So there was more to it. One thing with Coach Holtz, he's always does a great job of explaining himself, and we could add 3 or 4 minutes onto that. Those 2 questions, because he goes into great detail, which I really appreciate. But anyway, so Eric, what do you anticipate is going to be the what to look for in this game? Eric, can you hear me? So we
I can't hear you very much. My computer's choppy tonight. I don't know what the deal is. Gosh, frustrating.
I'm gonna take you down for a minute here.
Do you want me to take that one, Ed, while you're bringing him up?
Yeah. So having after hearing his comments, what's your initial?
I love Coach Holtz, but he's full of crap. It's going to be Magoo. Now, in fairness, probably he was still in camp, but I think it's going to be Magoo. I do like that was a good question though. I can see them using that 2-quarterback system. That's effective, and I used to hate it. I used to think you get your quarterback and you stick with them. You don't want a quarterback looking over their shoulder, right? You want the confidence and whatnot. But the 2-quarterback system, especially if they bring different skill sets, gives the defense a lot more to prepare for. I think the threat of not knowing, what quarterback you have your starter, but what series are they going to bring in this guy? I like it. I think we'll end up seeing some of it.
So Brett, we just played the Skip Holtz interview on the quarterback situation, and like Alex said, he thinks that Coach Holtz knows exactly what he wants to do. He just wasn't going to divulge anything. So So
Well,
give us your thoughts of what you think.
Yeah, his previous 3 years, he's basically let both quarterbacks play the first game or two, and then it's really who's ever got the hot hand and who he feels can best help the team. That's who he'll go with, and you can't argue with his formula. And a lot of people forget, except for Birmingham fans, we ended up going with Martinez last year. And Martinez had a couple really bad games at the end of the year, including the first half of the playoff game against Michigan. And he put Matt back in there, and Matt saved the year for us. I've got a bold prediction on the quarterback spot with Birmingham. I think it's going to end up being Alex, and with Matt Corral being an ex-Ole Miss Rebel, and Memphis really needing a top-shelf quarterback. And Case catching up. Case has got all the ability in the world. I think there'll be a trade with Matt Corral going to Memphis, and Case Cook is being the second string, but that'll probably be around week 3 or 4 when all that takes place.
Wow. That's bold. Tell you what.
You're only going to hear that here on the bottom line, Alex.
And a cat.
And a
You don't want to see that on the bottom line as well.
You hit that one, buddy. I tell you what, I'm going to start playing lottery. I'm going to ask you for numbers. That's a bold call.
Hey, I just got a feeling. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Makes sense.
So, Brett, what do you see? Is the wide receiving core, tight ends? Do they have the core of those guys back that they had last year?
Yeah, we're in good shape. The only question mark I have personally, Birmingham has our 2 best pass rushers, I think, from the last 2 years in the NFL now. But now we have signed some Winfrey from Oklahoma, Ane from BYU, I believe he played at. My main question with Birmingham this year is offensive line. That's the main question.
So if that's the main question, Alex, does DC have the defensive front that's going to make them pay if that is a problem?
Oh, he sure as hell didn't have it last year. That's for sure. We got pushed around up front. Our front 7. We gave up a lot of rushing yards, even with 7, 8 guys in the box. We had a hard time containing the run. I think that, the one thing that we could take advantage of is if there's some inexperience on the offensive line, it takes a while to gel, and it's still, the calls and whatnot. And Coach Williams gives them, he's famous for early in the season, these exotic blitzes and bringing heat and all these different looks. That could cause some trouble for Birmingham. There, which is some of the things he's going to try to do to put pressure on him.
A big question mark for Birmingham also. I mean, we've got most of our, if not all of our safeties back from last year. When you look at these rosters and analyze them pretty close, you can tell Birmingham's in a good spot at linebacker. We've only got 4 on the roster. We've got 4 safeties and 8 cornerbacks, I believe, on the roster. Question mark's going to be at cornerback, but I think our pass rush will kind of keep us out of trouble in some of the games.
Yeah.
So from a offensive standpoint, Alex, of course, you've got Ta'amu back again. What do you see as being DC's go-to on offense? Is it going to be the running game now that they got Abram Smith back?
I hope. We didn't really have anything we hang our hat on last year. I think it was a grab bag to a large degree. And I think it starts like we talked about up front. And I think, I like to watch the guys with the ball in their hands and the quarterbacks and the ball on display. But I think early in this game, if you're a casual fan, force yourself to watch up front on both sides of the ball with DC for the first few series. You'll get a feel for how we're going to do. I said it on the first show, and I've said it on numerous shows. Think about, we run a lot of RPO. Run, pass, option, run comes first. You don't establish the run, you got nothing. Ta'amu runs the RPOs really, really well. He can put pressure on the defense, but we got to be able to establish the run. Last year in a few games, we'd run the ball 10, 12 times, and I felt at times we gave up on it, And Coach Keiss has gotten more football than I ever knew. I mean, he's a fantastic football coach. This isn't an indictment on him, but I felt some games, if we could establish the run and stick in there a little bit before we start slinging it all over the place, can we then get the RPO game going? Long-winded way of saying, watch up front early. If we can control, Birmingham's tough up front. You guys, Brett, you're right. I think you made a great point. We're going to struggle containing that front. So then I guess the other piece of that is, what can we do? DC ran some cool tight end screens last year, some throwbacks to the tight end, some nifty stuff. What are the types of plays that we can run that maybe can take some of that heat off, maybe get Birmingham playing on our heels a little bit? But if they're knocking us back and they're able to control that up front, and we can't get Smith going, and we can't get Jackson going, and we can't get Higgins going, and we put it in Teamu's hand and say, go win it for us, it could be a long afternoon.
Yeah, DC gave Birmingham every bit they wanted in Birmingham last season on the front, especially the first half. And then you get right at the start of the fourth quarter, you could tell it seemed like the Birmingham offensive line was starting to wear them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Alex is 100% correct. If DC's got the running game, Teamu is so much better out of the play action, and he was at Ole Miss as well. If DC's running the ball, they've got a real good shot to win the game Sunday. But if they're third and long, it like Alex said, it could be a long day.
Could be a very long day. And see, here's the problem, Brett. You're such a nice guy. See, I want to fight with you so we get more clicks and stuff like that. But all you Auburn guys are just really, really nice guys, aren't you?
Not an Auburn guy.
I was gonna tell you, I was gonna get Brett's blood boiling here pretty soon anyway, because he is being pretty nice.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. Maybe that'll get him going. I
can speak from history and tell you that whenever Birmingham's playing, my texts on my phone are lighting up because Brett's very opinionated during the game. So let me ask you, Brett, because I know you so well and the way you watch the game develop. Answer this question for me. In the first half, if this is happening, I'm worried about whether Birmingham can pull this game out. What has to happen? What would happen that would be alarming to you, and then vice versa? What could be happening in the first half where you're going to be at ease knowing we've got this game well in hand?
Well, I mean, I think we've mentioned it already. Unfortunately, we stole our own thunder. It's the first game of the year, and there hasn't been but two kind of scrimmages, been a few practices. I mean, Birmingham was so much better at the end of last season compared to the beginning of the season. Yep. But we hit a lull in the middle. I don't know what we're going to see in game one. You could have so many missed assignments back in that new secondary. So many missed assignments on this offensive line. I think we've only got two starters back on the offensive line, center and guard. I mean, you go on the road and it's a rowdy crowd, and the home team gets the momentum, and you turn the ball over once or twice. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know how it is. It can be a domino effect. Before you know it, you're down 3 scores, and you're just trying to get out of there and get to the second week. But if Birmingham can run the ball,
yep,
and if they hold Abram Smith, like I said, Teamu, I think is a really solid quarterback, especially a really good spring football quarterback. But he's not one that you want to see throw it 35, 40 times in the game. They've got to get in a play action situation. And then Teamu can hurt you, with his legs as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he made some nice runs last year, but 100%. I mean, that RPO scheme that we run, He runs it very, very well.
Yeah.
But, he ran it really well 2 years ago. Look at his numbers. I mean, and 2 years ago when he had Abram Smith. So to play off that question, Brett, for me, it's going to be stopping the run. If we can't stop the run, you guys might lay 100 on us. I mean, we've got to stop the run. And, there were times last year, I think I told you, would throw my clipboard across the room when we put 8 guys in the box and we're in the, 3rd down and 5 and we got 8 guys bunched up and they run for 7 yards. And it's like, there's a personnel issue there. There's a talent issue there. We just aren't physically matching up with people when you are in a defense like that, where you have the numbers and you still can't stop the run. That's a helpless feeling.
Yeah, that when you're in the old Bears 46, or like you said, that's when you stick them in the backfield for a 3-yard loss, not let them run down the field on you.
There was a lot of running down the field last year. So I think early for me, like I said, I'm really going to train my eyes offensively and defensively up front. And if we can hold our own up front, we'll make a game out of it. If early in the game you guys are gutting us 4, 5, 6 rushes, yards a rush, it could be a long one. But you hit the nail on the head, Brett. First game of the season. I think it favors us. I think it favors us from the standpoint, number one, we're home. Number two, you guys are the better team. And I think that evens the field a little bit. Birmingham was a complete.
Oh, we've got a bullseye. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So come on up here and get your ass whipping.
We might get it. We'll see. But I got a feeling Birmingham will be in the playoff hunt at the end of the year, going for 4 in a row. Don't mean we're going to get it, but I don't think we're going to go silently into the night.
I don't think so either.
So Brett gets to go through another UFL season of being the hunted. Every week he's going to be on here, and everybody's going to be saying how Birmingham's going down, and Brett's usually takes it pretty well. But
hell, remember, I'm an Alabama fan. When Alabama loses, oh God, everybody, I have to get off the internet. I mean, I'm used to it. But then again, I get a different kind of misery on Sundays since I'm a Bears fan. So that's a whole nother kind of,
Yeah.
So, Alex, I will tell you that on game picks, because it's time to pick this game, because we got to move on to the next one. I will, before I tell you how everyone on the bottom line went with their picks, I'm going to let you pick this game and tell me in your heart of hearts what you see.
Oh, man. It's going to be painful to do this right off the bat, but I'm going to go some oddball score like 26-16 Birmingham. I think we'll be competitive for a bit, but I just think, Coach Holtz is a great coach. Birmingham's a great program. Too many question marks. I think before our season started, I said 5-5. This is not one of the games I had us winning. I'll be looking for how well we hold up front, how well we compete, and I hope we can make a game of it. And, anything can happen. But what did I say? 26-16 Birmingham.
So I do know last year watching Martinez and Coach Holtz interact, I come to Brett several times telling him that I thought Coach Holtz was a little bit hands-on when it come to head coach as far as the quarterback was concerned. There was a lot of games that I thought Martinez was going to finally lose his cookies, but he never did. So I'm interested to see. I kind of believe too that Magoo is going to be the starter. I'm interested to see how that interaction goes between head coach and him, because I think that Coach Holtz is going to be Coach Holtz. So I'm interested in seeing that part of the game and see how that goes. But again, Alex, I want to thank you again for joining us. This won't be the last time we bring you on, but we're ready to move on to the next game. So, give us a quick plug if you got anything you want to tell us where we can reach you or what you're up to now.
Just hit me up on Spot the Ball on what's it, X, and then Brett, I'll be Xing you if we do get the win. Thank you for having me on the show today, guys, and then until we meet again, so long, everybody.
See you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Alex. So we're going to get right into game number 2. And let's go ahead and start off with an intro courtesy of the UFL for both teams.
We love the moments.
And they're bringing Jake Bates on.
The memories. The magic.
64 yards.
The game. So let's get more. More action. More celebration. More unforgettable. More football. More of what you love.
A star is born in the U.S.
We love the moments. The memories. The magic. The game. So let's get more. More action.
My God.
More celebration. More unforgettable. More football. More of what you love.
I've got a whole slew of guests, and one of these guys, his timing was impeccable. I was starting to worry about him just when I was ready to say we don't have a representative from Memphis tonight. Look who popped up backstage. There he is.
That's
and
right.
Then,
man.
and
That's
then, not to be outdone, Michigan says that ain't nothing. I got two guys I can bring on. So let's bring Jesse and Lauren on for My Panther Pride. So how you guys doing?
Doing
Good.
well. About yourself?
Long time no see, Bill.
Yep.
I mean, these guys are stalking me. It's like they're stalking me around the internet now. What's going on with that?
So as I started off with Alex to begin with DC and their head coaching situation, why don't you give me your initial thoughts on now that you've had a couple days to kind of
Couple of
regroup?
days.
What's your thoughts?
Before I start, did Brett say he's going to go out on a limb and say Magoo's going to be the starting quarterback for the Birmingham Stallions?
Yeah, he went out on a limb.
That is out on a limb, man. I'm telling you what, that is some kind of trapeze work right there.
Well, that's
no, my limb was my limb was that Corral was going to Memphis about week 3 or 4.
The head coach wouldn't even tell us who the starter was.
Then when
Brett stepped forward,
you want to send us another
out.
quarterback. We appreciate that.
So
Ed, I don't know. It's been 24 hours, I guess, now since all this has happened. I don't know that there's a good or a bad scenario to it. It is what it is. If a leave absence is necessary for family or for health, you just got to man up and go to the next guy and move forward. Nothing we can do about that. Nothing the league or the players or the coaches wanted to happen. That kind of happened pretty suddenly for all of us here. It's Ken had been to 4 or 5 events here. He was great. His wife was great. So we wish him all the best and hope things work out for whatever is going on. And then we just move forward with what we got and move forward. That's all we can do. And hopefully the players are really focused and dialed in, and we can kind of go from there.
So Eric and I had the opportunity at the press conference to talk to interim coach Jim Turner, and Eric had an opportunity to ask EJ Perry a question. So let's see what they had to say, and we'll talk when we come back.
But Ed, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. This is Doug with the Bottom Line. With EJ Perry playing quarterback for the Michigan Panthers last season, have you been able to get some insight from him as possible, Michigan tendencies on both sides of the ball that maybe would help you with your game plan for this week's game?
Okay, 100%, right? So, of course, you're going to do that, right? And I know a lot of NFL coaches in my time in the NFL, right? They'll bring in, they'll sign a backup quarterback just to get all the calls, and then they'll let the guy go, right? So I understand that whole thing. Now, did we spend a lot of time doing that? No, okay. But we've spent time with EJ, talking about, obviously he knows their defensive package. We know it well too, because we played against it, right? They'll drop 8 on 3rd down. They're going to bring the nickel pressure. The safety's going to come down and come off the edge weak and 2x2. So we know that defense. We know the strength of their defense is not the multiplicity of it. The strength of their defense is they are sound and they are good. Their players are good. and they've done a great job at analyzing the personnel and getting the right people on the field, to defeat other teams. So we feel good. I'm not totally sure. I know about their quarterback. They have a good LSU's quarterback. I understand that whole thing with him. Okay. And he has the ability to run the ball as well and all of that. We understand that whole package. But again, just like anything, when they come into the season this year, they're going to change things up. I know their offensive line coach, Tim Holt. He's a great line coach. He's been there for a few years. He's done a great job there. So I know they're going to do different things. They understand what you just said, so I can't imagine all their calls will be identical. So I would imagine they're going to change that up. So we're not banking on being able to have EJ tell us exactly what's coming on every play. He's going to have enough on his plate just to play quarterback in this football game. So other than the minor bit of intelligence that he's given us, from them, other than that, he's focused on one thing, and it's playing his position and getting the ball to the people he's supposed to get it to and do his job.
Good luck, Coach.
Hey, EJ, how are you doing?
Good.
This is Eric Murtu with The Bottom Line. I just got a quick question for you. Talk a little bit about, what these last 24, 48 hours with Coach, Whisenhunt taking a leave and Coach Turner coming in. Talk about it from your perspective as the quarterback. What it's just been like dealing with something that was clearly unexpected, the week of your opening game.
Yeah, it's business as usual. Coach Turner's done a great job jumping in and hitting the ground running and just continuing on the foundation that we've laid all camp. It's been, there's a great coaching staff. Coach Whisenhunt is a great coach, and his system has been understood from day one. We've been learning it, and we're ready to execute it. And everyone's done a good job to step up, and that's the deal, right? Like when you're on the field and someone gets injured, if I get injured, Troy's going to be ready to go. If somebody else gets injured, the next guy's going to be ready to go. And Coach Turner's done a great job of not blinking with this situation, and that's how it is. He played, he's been in the game a long time, and we're ready to go, we're ready to play, and that's what this is all about, is playing a game of football.
All right, thanks, EJ. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
So, Bill, after hearing that, what's your initial thoughts?
Well, I think we figured out who our starting quarterback was going to be after that. That's going to be EJ. But, it's what everybody said here all the last 24 hours is there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to pick up, just like they're doing in D.C., and move forward as fast as possible. And, we were talking to the Michigan guys earlier. I think maybe it gives us a little bit more razor sharpness, maybe a little bit more in tune with what's going on. Everybody's maybe a little bit more dialed in. But in the end, you've got people calling plays who've never called them before at any level. And that's going to be something that in this kind of environment, as fast as these plays have to be called, and this clock is quick. I mean, it's quicker than we think it is. So that's going to be tough. It's going to be hard for us to overcome. And, Ed, we talked a lot last year before these games and before the season. It's really almost impossible to figure out who's got what. I know Birmingham's going to be really good just because they've got great coaching, and Michigan's going to be great on defense because they've got great coaching. But a lot of these variables and all these teams are going to come and go until we kind of get a feet, set in week 2 or 3, and then we can kind of dial in on what these teams have. I know defensively, Coach Horton has got our team ready to go. This should be a really great defensive battle. I expect it to be a low-scoring kind of game, but who knows? Until we get down the road a little bit and we all can kind of put our 2 cents in with it, there's just nothing we can really tell how it's going to go.
So, Jesse and Lauren, I got to think, can you tell me if I'm blowing too much smoke, but I got to think, how much of a cat and mouse game do you think this becomes with Michigan's defense, knowing what they know about EJ and his tendencies, and vice versa? EJ knows what Michigan brings to the table. Do you think that's really going to affect Michigan's game plan as far as the back and forth with what they think EJ Perry will do or try to do?
I think that week one, going up against, what's going on within, the Showboats organization, I don't think that's going to really play a factor at all. I think everything's going to be hitting these guys quick, and especially EJ Perry. He's got a playbook he's got to learn, and especially now from someone, he's got to learn someone's playbook who is not there anymore. So I don't think it's going to play a factor much, personally.
So, Lauren, do you think that once again Michigan's strength is going to be their defense, and they're going to be maybe a ground and pound when it comes to the offense, or what are you looking at?
Well, like last time we were on here, I think we've definitely upgraded our receiver core. That way we can try to air the ball out a little bit more, maybe have a little bit more options there with, throwing the ball. But I do think we'll be a little bit more run heavy. We have reworked our running back room a little bit by adding Jaden Sheardon. That guy's supposed to have some breakout speed, man. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do this year. Defensively, I think, like everybody's already kind of alluded to, the defense is coming back to do what they did last year and just, keep the other team from putting points on the board and put our team in good scoring position.
So Memphis's offense last year never really got to get on track because, they led the league in sacks allowed. They had a good receiving core. They just never got a chance to exploit them because the quarterback didn't have time to throw. What have you seen, Bill? Did you see a concerted effort with Memphis this year to address that offensive line?
I think we redid the offensive line completely. I think we have one returner who was pretty good at center, and the rest of them are completely a new group. All of them have NFL camps. So I think, look, Case is a great quarterback. I thought he was pretty good coming into Memphis. He didn't have time to even sit up to throw the football last year. So I think now we'll have a completely different look there. But it's all coming down to play calling and calling the right play at the right moment. And Ken, has a lot of experience doing that, and what we have now does not. That's not to say these young guys who are going to be doing it are not going to be great. They could, that's what this league's all about, opportunity. And these guys have got an opportunity now to show what they can do, and hopefully that's what they'll do. If I was Michigan, I would play a prevent defense basically and make them beat me. I'd come after them when I could, but that's kind of where we are with things right now. But I think our line will be better. I know our defensive line is going to be substantially better. It was good last year. I think it's much better this year. I think our special teams is in really great shape. Our receivers are really good. Where we lacked last year was really the offensive line and D-backs, and I think we kind of changed a lot of that up. We were real happy where we were a week ago today. Our questions now are just how does that offense work? How do you call plays? How do you get them in and out of the huddle? Those are the type things, clock management, game and score, time and score, all those things are now on the table that we didn't have a week ago. So it's just a matter of letting them play and see what we got basically now.
So who, besides the wide receiving core, who do you anticipate is going to be your lead back? And do you,
we got three that he got. All of them have NFL experience. He liked them all. I talked to Ken about them a couple weeks ago at an event here. He thought they were all going to be really good and interchangeable. I don't think the backs are our issue. It's just a matter of, right now, Ed, there's no way you could really tell what we're going to be on offense. We could come out of there and score 50 points. I would be more leaning toward the fact of we're going to play really good defense and try not to make mistakes and see if we can win a game late, just to get our feet wet and get things rolling. That kind of may be where we are. That's why we talked earlier with the Panther guys. It's going to be a 26-16, 27-17 game. If our defense gets worn out, it could be a problem for us. But Horton has done a great job here. He's somebody we all really, really, really gravitate toward. He's kind of one of those things we talk about in Memphis, made in Memphis. He's not from here, but he has that dynamic. ability to get his point across like a Memphis person does. And we're excited to see where defensively we are. We're excited with the offense too, but over the last 24 hours, we just can't tell you where it's going to be. And I don't think anybody could, but they're going to give it their all, I'm sure. But no one's going to be able to tell us what the outcome is going to be until we see it in person.
So Jesse, like I asked Brett in the first matchup, you're watching the game, and that first half, what if something's happening, what's going to concern you, or what are you going to be looking for that's going to give you the peace of mind that, yeah, we got this game, versus, oh boy, we're in for a hell of a fight today? What's the keys of the game that you're seeing?
Well, I'm expecting, as Bill alluded to, I'm expecting Jaron Horton to have the defense buzzing, especially with everything that's happened. I think this is going to be almost a galvanizing situation for the team moving forward, at least. Right now, it's kind of everything's up in the air. But so, I mean, first game of the season, the offense is going to have its troubles. But I think that if their offense is able to push around our defense, so I'm going to lean towards if we aren't able to get any pressure and their offensive line is that much better than last year, that there's going to be issues. So I'm going to be really focusing on the trenches when we are on the defensive side of the ball to basically judge how things are going to play out with their offense.
What about you, Lauren?
I think I'm going to go a little bit on the opposite side of the ball. I'm going to say if our offensive line can protect and give our quarterback time to throw the ball, or at least open up some holes for those running backs to break out, that's going to be a big deciding factor if our O-line can keep up this year. Because I'm not saying that we have a bad one, but I don't think we have the strongest O-line of the league, but it's one of the better ones. And we added Brian Dooley, but pretty much it's all returning guys. So
what have you guys found out about your field goal kicker this year? I know he was a thorn, and I know that Bates was a real thorn in the Battlehawks side that week one game when he kicked the 64-yard game-winning field goal. Are you going to have that kind of a weapon again this year, or?
In an interview that Mike Nolan had, he said, like, if we get put in one of those positions where we have to chance it to go long, 50 plus, we probably will go for it. But what we know of BT is just what we've looked up on his stats for like extra points and field goals throughout college. And he was in the upper 95% almost every season. So it looks like his accuracy is there. We just got to see, the power, if he has the same power as Jake.
Yeah, he never booted anything too long, but I mean, we had two competitions within camp, so we brought in two different kickers, so, and he beat both of them out, and Blewett is on, I can't remember where he landed. Blewett, St. Louis maybe.
Or no,
yeah.
Houston.
Houston.
Okay. Yeah. So he lost our competition, and that was the second round, and he still ended up on a roster. So I feel pretty confident with our kicking situation.
Yeah. And I believe Blewett also kicked a field goal previously to beat the Panthers in like 2023, I believe it was. I believe so.
So Bill,
Ed, you saw our kicker in the. Did you see that video of him hitting one from 70? Matt can really kick. I mean, he was really great for us last year. That. So our special teams is really good. I like what we have punting and special team. We have a returner that should be one of the fastest guys in the UFL this year. So we'll see about that. But we do have a 70-yard guy out there. So we'll see if he actually gets to kick one 70 yards. But he at least made one in practice.
With no line in front of him.
With no line,
that's a different angle, but it was still very impressive. I'll give him that.
He kicked it from 70, so it may have been 4 feet off the ground when it got to the line of scrimmage, but it was.
Well, I tell you, last year the numbers were just crazy, league wide, really.
Yeah.
the efficiency that the field goal kickers had in the UFL last year. There was, God, some crazy stat that I think halfway through the season they had only missed one or two 50-plus yard field goals for the season, all 8 teams combined.
Well,
It
I
was-
wonder if that has something to do with no, field goal, no extra point. Like that is the only opportunity they have, with it
You remember, Ed,
being
when the USFL started, where our kickers couldn't kick anything. In 22,
they couldn't kick
it
at
was like
all.
they kicked. They were like missing. They had that chip in the ball at the beginning of the USFL season, and so they missed tons of kicks. And they took that out and it made a big difference. But Aubrey was really great for Birmingham. You saw what he did, and that's what this league is for. I think those special teams people and punt returners and kickers and coaching. That's really where this league has started to really take hold, and you'll see a lot of that in the NFL as you go forward. But I think special teams could play a part just because both these teams have really great defenses and have dynamic coaches on defense. So special teams may become punting and field position and field goal kicking may be a big part of what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to John Atkins for a while yesterday, and you could tell he was ready to go. And
him and Boogie are ready to. I'm telling you, we've talked with them a lot, and they are absolutely. There's 4 or 5 defensive linemen that have really stepped up in the last 24 hours and taken this team by storm, and they're going to really put their stamp on what goes on Sunday. That's really where they're going to hang their hat, and they're going to bring as much heat as possible. And how long that can last and how much they can put up if the offense doesn't produce a little bit, I don't know. But they are great guys too. Just guys you got to root for because John's been great for us. He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. He's just you're watching the stands on Sunday. There'll be 10 people with John Ecken fat heads. They just love him here. He's been a great guy to deal with.
So it's that time that we have to go around the horn. I'll tell you how the Bottom Line crew picked the game after we're done, but let's start with Lauren and kind of give us your synopsis of what you think the game is going to be and maybe give us your prediction and even throw a score in there if you're feeling good.
Well, I threw a score out on my show or on our recording earlier, so I guess I'll share it. But like Bill said, their defensive line and defense have really stepped it up. So if our offensive line can come out there and match that energy, I already know that the whole offensive line, they got the mindset. This is Revenge Tour 2025. They got work to do. And if our defensive secondary can step it up more than they did last year, I think we got this one in the bag for sure. I know you guys think that my score prediction might be a little bit high with Jaron at defense, and now I'm thinking about it. It might be, but I'm still going to stick with around 35-17, Michigan.
35.
Jesse?
So I do think that that's a high score. I'll start with that.
Even Jesse.
But I think that the Panthers are going to be able to pull this out. I think that everything I've heard from Bryce Perkins, I mean, he had, after his injury, he still was within the playbook and he's had a whole offseason and still has that continuity like we talk about consistently. So I think that he's going to be able to push the ball, and I don't know if the Showboats are going to be able to do that. So I'm sticking with my score as well from earlier, and I'm going to say 27-17 Michigan.
Okay, Bill, you've heard what they've had to say. Let's hear it.
I think it'll be a close one. I know the 37 may be a little, unless we turn the ball over a bunch, which could happen. But I'm going to go on this show, which is different from what I've done before. But I'm going to go 26-23 Showboats and a field goal at the last second that Matt makes from 70 yards, and we get a win in the first game. But like I've said, this is pulling cats out of a bag right now, trying to figure out what's what. I just hope it's a fun game to see, a fun game everybody gets to play a lot and everybody's healthy, and we come out and we figure out what to do from there. But 26, 23 showboats, I think it'll be in that kind of range. Just hoping we can score that much is kind of where we are.
I was looking along the lines of, I really do think this game will stay close throughout. And I think that there'll be a late score that'll pull it out for Michigan. But I was looking at more like a 23-17 or 23-18 type of a game with maybe a late touchdown by Michigan or a field goal to seal the deal. But the bottom line, Crew, was a sweep for Michigan. But we all felt very strongly that this is going to be a different season for Memphis. There's brighter days ahead, and I know watching a few games, I even saw you a few times on the sideline, Bill, where you looked pretty frustrated. But
that would be understated. It wouldn't surprise me if this game ended up 16-13 somewhere in there. But last year was frustrating. It was our deal is we raise money for St. Jude. We do our tailgate. We have hundreds of people who come out and we have a ball. That never changes, and it never changed last year. We had an incredible time. We have some incredible people here that are just fanatics about just football and having fun in general. Is it serious? No, not really. We're going to have fun. I love Michigan people. If any of them coming down can come tailgate with us. I've been a Michigan fan since '83 when they were in the USFL. I love their uniforms, everything about what goes on with them. So we feel like every team in every league, we have all kind of fans that come down. When you guys come down from St. Louis, we'll have a huge tailgate for you. And that's what this is all supposed to be about. I mean, this is not as serious as people want to make it. We enjoy doing what we do. We have a lot of fun, and I know the bottom line is that this is a developmental football league, and these guys are trying to make it back, and they're all grateful for this opportunity. Hopefully, none of this labor stuff will continue to go on, and we can find a way to settle all that, and that these guys get the opportunity they deserve, to try to get out there on Saturday, Sunday, and Friday and show what they got. And a handful make it back to the NFL. And it's a great thing to see with David Davis when he made it back to the Panthers. We were so excited. He's one of the best guys to deal with also. All of these players come and sign autographs as long as the kids want them to. They'll do whatever. They'll come up in the stands. That's what this is supposed to be about. If we can continue that as a family in the UFL and continue to grow this, that's where we want to be. And we're going to have fun Sunday regardless of what happens. Look, we went 2-8 last year. I wish we could play Houston every week. If we could, we'd be good. But we enjoy what we're doing, and we're going to have fun regardless. We want to win like everybody else, but we're going to have a great time and enjoy the 10 weeks. Actually, 12 weeks for us this year, and then we'll go from there.
Well, we know you guys have a hell of a tailgate in Memphis, and we know you guys know what you're doing. We got a guy by the name of Rick Story that's kind of known for tailgating around here, and we've been trying to coordinate with him to make our way down to Memphis in a caravan, and somehow Rick Story meets Bill Alexander, and it turns into a big old-fashioned tailgate that ends up on Beale Street afterwards. So,
Ed, I know you've had the boatsmen on here. We have some characters. We have the King. Elvis will be there every game. We have the boatsman, who is just one of the great fans of any sport at any level, anywhere. There's not an NFL, Major League Baseball, anywhere that has as much into it as the boatsman does. But we have 50 people like that who just come and enjoy what goes on, and they will cheer their hearts out and be frustrated with the loss, but enjoy it when they leave. But we'd love to have anybody down. If the Michigan guys, you guys want to come down, we're here. We'd love to have anybody from, Rig from Houston always comes. We have people from Birmingham who come every year. So we're here. We're open for business. It's all free. It's all to raise money for St. Jude, and we'll do whatever it takes to have a good time. And there is some beer flowing, that's for sure. We have a mimosa. We're going to do breakfast with the boats this week, so we'll have a Bloody Mary bar. We'll have a lot of stuff going on. That'll be a lot of fun.
So, having said that,
Uh-oh.
We will. Is there just quick question? Do we need to worry about getting spots in the lot for tailgating, or is that something that you
No,
guys kind of just own the lot? And
yeah, we have our lot that the Showboat people here, the PR people, Andy, and the people we deal with here, Steve and Macy, they're just the best. They work extremely hard to get this community behind the Showboats, and they work with us about, we're going to be able to. I told the guys in Michigan earlier, our atmosphere now is, we can bring in basically whatever we need to make noise, to do things. We're trying to make this more like European soccer, Japanese baseball, flags, horns, drums, whatever we need to do will be different than a lot of places you go to. And they give us a spot for tailgating, and we can basically, you tell us what you want. You can be right beside me. You can be right beside Boatsman, whatever you need to do. And look, this isn't a rivalry thing. You bring your people, they'll have as much fun as they do in St. Louis. And it's a safe environment. Memphis gets a bad rap. I've lived in Memphis my entire life. I've never had any problem of any kind. The Liberty Bowl is an enclosed environment. The Memphis Police Department is a huge presence during games and everything that's done in Memphis. There's no way for people to get in and out of your car, to come do your car, or mess with your car, because it's just not a accessible place to anybody outside of going to the games. We sell parking. You can come get your own parking. It's $20 and get a good parking spot. But we can tell you where to be, and you can bring your people, and as many as you want from St. Louis, and we'll tell them where to be, and they can have their tailgate right next to us or mingle with us, however they want to do it.
well, I know before I let you guys go that I know blood is thicker than water, because the Boatsman was supposed to be on our show tonight, but he had a last minute conflict taking his wife to dinner, and I know how that goes.
So you got the B team today. You got the B team.
No, we're supposed to have the B team and both the B team. Yeah.
Well, the A team had to take the wife, and he said, "Are you going to do this?" I said, "Well, if you got to go eat steak in Holly Springs, Mississippi, which is one of the greatest steak places on earth, I think I would have done that too if I had to do that." So he hated not to be here, but I'm sure he's traveling back, listening, going, "Doggone it."
No, we'll get him on again.
And I'll have a list of 4 or 5 things I didn't talk about that I was supposed to talk about. So if I miss something,
it happens to everyone on every show. Every time I hit stop record, I'm like, man, I didn't bring this up. I didn't say that.
So, My Panther Pride, why don't you guys do a shameless plug, and then we'll let you guys all get out of here.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're on all of it. Everything's at My Panther Pride. We got a group event going on for the San Antonio Brahmas game. Sign up for the FIVO link. That's on all of our YouTube videos. Once we get 25 people, there's only 14 seats left.
Mm-hmm.
We can sign up for exclusive game day experience. Hopefully we can get pictures and autographs. Like Bill said, these players like to come back out and interact with the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're doing a 150 subscriber giveaway, where I think we're only 8 subscribers away, and then we can get those tickets out to some Michigan fans. So go like, share, subscribe. Join us over there at My Panther Pride. We got a lot of stuff we're working on behind the scenes. We have a lot of things coming up.
Yes, sir.
Anything? Did I miss anything, Jesse?
Watch Bill, party. You have any shameless plugs you want to put out there before I let you go?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us on Facebook. The Memphis Showboat Yacht Club official. We're also on Instagram, the same Memphis Showboat Shop official. We do mostly on Facebook. I know Andy and them at the Showboats put stuff out for us, but you can find us there. We have about 2,500 members on the Yacht Club page. And like I said, everything we do is free. There's no charge to sign up. There's no nothing. It's just, people ask me all the time, how do I join? You click the button and you join and you're ready to go. and just be part of it. I mean, like I said, this is a labor of love. We enjoy doing it just because I was a kid of the 80s for the USFL, and I loved everything about it. And this has been a lot of fun, and we do it strictly as fun. It's not and we want to win, but we're doing it to have a great time, to raise a lot of money, and to just enjoy having something to do in the spring when you don't have a lot to do.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us, guys. We are gonna. You got something to say, Lord?
Yeah, one more thing. I got an email earlier today. There will be a watch party for the game in Troy, Michigan today at DraftKings Sportsbook from 11 to 3 p.m.
Okay,
So go
that's
check that out.
great, Lord. I was gonna have Mike cover that when he come on, but
Thanks, Mike.
I just remember.
Thanks for helping cover, Mike.
Yeah.
I just remember the one thing they told me to tell you.
Oh, there you go.
We have a big kickoff party where the players and coaches will be at on Saturday night at Ghost River on Main Street in Memphis from 4 to 6. And we are now going to unveil our own Memphis Showboat beer. We'll have it available for everyone to have there at the Ghost River. It's a fantastic beer. We'll be able to sell it. I know it'll be kind of like the Battlehawks, but it'll be a lot better than the Battlehawks beer. So we'll have it Saturday from 4 to 6. It's at Ghost River. And I just got a text while I was talking to you from 3 or 4 people that said, tell them about that. So we will be there. Fan kickoff. It's appreciation night. It's a fantastic night. And we'll have players. We'll have all the cheerleaders will be there. The radio show will be there, the whole deal.
that's awesome. Well, make sure you check that out. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Courtesy of the UFL. Let's take a break. And when we come back, it's time for Arlington and San Antonio's. Talk to you guys later.
Let's hunt.
The best of the best is coming together. There's no more what ifs. We're on one league now.
Ready to shut it off. I'm number one in the building.
There's no more talk. Put up or shut up. We'll see who the top dogs is now.
Strap it up and line it up.
Joining forces means more power.
Delirium in D.C.
More potential. More reach.
Unbelievable.
Look for a chance to play ball, man. A chance to show that you still got it.
The hunger is unreal.
Helmet goes on. Nothing else in the world matters.
Tell them I'm ready. Whenever they want this, I'm ready.
A league that pushes the envelope and opens the door to living the dream.
I've been an underdog my whole career.
Football is kind of my last resort. If I could just get this one little break.
Brace the moment, man. This is as fun as it gets right here.
United, they stand to stake a claim to springtime for America's favorite game. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
You know we ready. Yes, sir. Ready to run it back.
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
For a new era.
Let's go.
New challenges.
Best in the nation.
A new beginning.
The time is now.
Line it up, Playboy. Let's do it.
I can't wait to see you guys play.
Are you ready?
This is the United Football League.
Just don't blink.
This is more than a game. It's passion that fuels us. The action.
My goodness.
The excitement. The pride.
To the end zone. Touchdown.
Where stars emerge.
He got smoked.
Where legacies begin.
You're feeling awfully confident right now.
Where the future of football is taken to new heights.
Touchdown. Bam. He got whacked.
Get ready.
Just bad intentions. Wow.
For more football this spring.
Playing with some swagger.
A new UFL season kicks off on March 28th.
Let's get this next game started. Let's start off with the intros.
We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the game. So let's get more. More of the action. The celebration. The unforgettable. The football. Our town, our team, our herd.
We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the game.
I promise you we're gonna win this game.
So let's get more. More action, more celebration, more unforgettable.
Every play.
More football. More of what you love.
Looks like I have my co-host back.
Man, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the My Panther Pride fellows and Bill Alexander with the Yacht Club. And man, what a shirt he had on. He had the old school on one side, the 83 through 85 Memphis Showboats, and then the new stuff. Awesome shirt. And thank him for everything he's done there in Memphis and with the UFL. I mean, first class guy. I enjoy talking to him. I probably call and bother him more than he wants, but he's an awesome guy to talk with.
So we had this guy on last week, and by popular demand, we were just flooded with viewers that wanted him back for another week. So let's bring on from San Antonio, Leo Yamas. How you doing, Leo?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We are doing fantastic. Well, this time it's for real, right?
Yes, sir. Week one.
Week one. So, Brett, you want to take this, or what do you want? How you want to do this?
Man, I just wanted to say I really we're posting our picks later with the bottom line who everyone picked this week for the games, and I really enjoyed what was it, the Horns Ford picks with the Birmingham DC game. I enjoyed that. I keep if anybody knows me from online, they know I'm on a whole nother level of petty, and I do keep receipts. That being said, Horns Ford.
Yes,
so maybe before we get started with the San Antonio Arlington game, we need to get a quick prediction from Leo to see if he agrees with the Horns forward or whether he goes out in a different direction. Who you got with the DC Birmingham game, Leo?
That's I gotta go Birmingham. I don't understand how you even pick DC right now. Coaching change this late, and I mean Birmingham is the defending champions, right? So they're at the top until proven otherwise. So yeah, I'm picking Birmingham. I understand why. I understand why, you know, my fellow Brahmas faithful are going the other direction, and I applaud them for their their conviction. But I've always been where I'm just gonna say what I think, and I try to push my heart away, and use this more often than not, because if I don't, I get into trouble. But you know what? I get into trouble that way too. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that definitely cost me in my NFL picks this season. You can ask the fellas. I picked for the Jets every game, and picked against the Chiefs every game, and against the Eagles every game. And yeah, I came in last. And
that's what that'll get you.
That's what that got me. Yeah.
So let's start off, Leo. Let's get into this Arlington game coming up this weekend. What's your initial thoughts on this game?
Look, we talked last week, and we asked what I thought. You know, made predictions for the season. What I thought of the Brahmas. I don't know if I made it clear. I actually think the Brahmas are a better team this year than they were last year. They're going to be a better team. I just think they got the cards stacked against them with the scheduling. So that's going to be what I think is going to be a tough obstacle, but we'll see if they can overcome that. With Arlington, though, they've always played those games tight. I think last year was it 20-15 and 25-15 earlier in the season, if I'm not mistaken. But that game is always kind of a back and forth affair. No one ever really Even though Brahmas went 2-0 last week, they weren't dominant per se in either performance. They had chances to be, but then would give up some big plays, or Arlington would. But they got, if I'm being honest, Arlington has the best quarterback in the history of spring football in Luis Perez. Everybody said, but I prefer the way it's be pronounced Perez, by the way.
Oh.
But having said that, I would agree with you. However, when you look at San Antonio's defense, both games last year, I mean, only giving up 15 points in both games, they definitely had an answer for him. So,
they had an answer.
So what could be? So what could happen that would change that this year?
They had an answer for the running game. They didn't really have an answer for for Luis Perez, and particularly the tight end position. Sal Canella, who might be, if not the best, he's one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in the league.
Should be in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a really big threat, and San Antonio has had their problems with him in the past. So that's kind of the X factor for Arlington. San Antonio has a stout defense, though. They're tough to run on. Arlington found that out last year. They couldn't get the run game going in either game. When they finally abandoned the run and started just throwing the ball, that's when they started getting some plays and digging back into to both of those games, actually. So I personally think San Antonio is the better team. I just think they're going to go through some growing pains right now. New starting quarterback, like I mentioned last week. Who's he going to throw the ball to? They got Jontre Kirkland coming back. And Marquez Stevenson, Justin Smith returning, but neither were really big factors last year. Could have been quarterback play. That might have been a big part of it. Alize Mack, they lost their big tight end from last year. And now Alize Mack has to be the guy. And we'll see. There's some question marks in the passing game. I think the running game is solid. So I do believe the Brahmas are going to grind this out. It's going to be a defensive battle. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun. Are you wanting a score prediction or?
We're it's a little early for that. We can hold off on that. But so you think then, as far as Kellen Mond goes, at least in week 1, they're gonna be pretty conservative with him?
I don't know that they're gonna be conservative with him. I just think they're gonna help him out a lot with the run game. They're gonna take their shots. I just don't know who the guy is gonna be. If that Arlington defense keys on Jontre Kirkland, who's going to be the next man up that's going to make a big play? And that's the question mark in the passing game. And so that's what I want to see before I get too excited about Kellen Mond. I think Kellen Mond is a better quarterback than any of the guys the Brahmas had last year. And they have an opportunity to be much better offensively and not really take any steps back on defense. So all in all, like I said, I think the Brahmas are a better team at the end of the season than they were last year. I just don't, it's going to be a struggle with all the games on the road.
Yeah, we did our power rankings, I guess a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we've shared them on the show yet or not, but I've taken a lot of flack with putting Arlington out of the playoffs, or San Antonio, out of the playoffs in the 3rd spot of the XFL conference. And I actually had somebody ask me today, not being smart, but why do you have them there? What's your reasoning behind it? And I said, it's just purely schedule. I said, look, they've got 4 home games and 6 road games, but it's not just that they have, more road games. It's who they've got them against. They've got 2 against St. Louis, which is a stacked roster. Then they go to, without a doubt, probably the best 2 teams in the USFL conference, going to Birmingham and going to Michigan. And that was my reasoning behind it. If they didn't have such a such a rough schedule like you mentioned, I'd probably have San Antonio winning the XFL conference again. But they have the talent, like you said, and the roster to overcome it. But it's going to unfortunately be, a little bit of an uphill battle.
But as you talk about home crowds, you can say what you want about they're all road games, and other than Arlington playing in their home stadium, everybody else has to travel. Yes, that may be true, but there is a difference to be able to play in a stadium where the crowd is for you and not against you.
Oh yeah.
So I think there's something to be said for that. So you look at, San Antonio starting out with Arlington, then St. Louis, Michigan, DC, a week at home, and then Birmingham. I mean, they're it's a gauntlet, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, if San Antonio makes it to the playoffs, like you said, Ed, with that kind of schedule, watch out. Watch out.
And I think I made the comment to Leo that I think those first 6 games, if they can come out 3-3, and they got 3 of their final 4 games at home, I think they got a real shot to run the table and take the conference. 7-3, I can easily see San Antonio 7-3 if they're able to start off 3-3. So.
Well, if they come out 3-3, you're looking at the schedule. I think they it's a close game, but I think they beat Arlington. And then, like you mentioned, that 6th game is Birmingham. They got Houston just before that in week 5. That would be the other one on the schedule that you'd circle. That's we don't know, but
right.
You think it's probably going to be a win, or it could be a win. So that means they got to sneak one on the road against St. Louis, Michigan, or DC in one of those first 4 games, or the one at Birmingham. That's a tough ask, though. They might be able to sneak one. So if Ed, if you're saying 3-3, then they might do that because with Arlington and Houston, I have chalked up as W's. You need one out of those other 4.
And I gotta believe they're gonna get at least one, don't you think? I mean, they're a quality team. They're not gonna. I just don't see them on the short end of the stick of all the rest of those. So
yeah, they are.
So we all know that most games are won in the trenches. Do you look at the offensive line and the defensive line for San Antonio as a strength or an area of weakness? What's your initial thoughts on that?
Oh, well, defensive line is stout. Offensive line, they got most of the guys coming back, and they were pretty solid last year. They were they gave protection to the guys we had. But now with Mon being a little bit more versatile and a little bit more athletic, being able to stretch plays and, being an actual threat to run, I think the offensive line is going to be, a strength just like last year, but even more so this year. So in the trenches, I'm not worried about the Brahmas. I think they're upper notch in the league. Defensive line, they're tough. Offensive line, solid, and I think solid enough, especially if you've got a quarterback back there that can make some plays when the protection breaks down.
So, Brett, before we get into the actual picks, you've been very high on Arlington heading into this season. What are you saying, or what are you looking at that could serve Arlington well for this first game here?
Well, they got free agent Chris Odom on the edge from Houston, and they've also got Reuben Foster from Houston starting at middle linebacker that they didn't have last year. And Arlington finished the last 2 seasons, you got to admit, probably the hottest team last 2 years, and I've just got a hunch that this year they're going to start out a little better. I mean, yeah, their record last year, first 6-7 games was absolutely awful, but 3 of those games they lost the final second. And I just feel like he had mentioned with Perez coming back, Canella coming back, they've got a really good core coming back, but I feel like they've really stacked up that defense and improved their offensive line. And, but I've got Arlington in a very close one in this one, but, it could go either way. But I'm looking at Arlington just to start the season off faster than what they have the previous 2 years. I mean, I think they won, 3 of their last 4 last year.
Mm-hmm.
They gave Birmingham everything they wanted for 3 quarters in the first game, and it just kind of went downhill from there until they finally got their feet under them.
So, Leo, let's start out again. Before I don't know if you've seen the bottom line picks on this game or not, but before I tell you how we picked this game, why don't you go ahead and give your thoughts on the game, and you can get into what you think the score is going to end up. And I think you've already picked San Antonio in a close one, but why don't you tell us if you're watching this game, what's going right, what's going wrong that's going to sway on how you feel as this game's going on?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. I think it's going to be an ugly game in the first half. Things will loosen up a little bit better in the second half. I think Arlington, like Brett, I believe their defense is going to be much improved. You could never count a guy out like Luis Bettis. Running game, I think, is probably going to struggle. The Brahmas, on the other hand, are going to have their backs, and they're going to be solid. I don't think they've got running backs in Lovett and McFarland Jr. that complement each other very well. And I think the defense is going to struggle to have an answer when you take out one of those guys and bring in the other one. So I see kind of the Brahmas grinding it out, and it's going to be a low-scoring, close game, but I think the Brahmas take this one.
I also took the Brahmas in this game. I just think that McFarland is such an X factor that I think that this game's going to be close, like you say. It's maybe in some stretches going to be pretty ugly, like you said too. But I just think there's going to be those 1 or 2 plays that's going to be the difference and break things open. And I think it's going to be McFarland. Just when you think you've got a team bottled up, he can break a 70-yarder at the turn of a hat. So,
yep,
I think that's going to be the difference in the game, and that's why I took San Antonio. What did you say? You took Arlington, didn't you, Brett?
I took Arlington in a real close game, and let me mention one name that nobody's mentioned here tonight, and you got to go back and look. Leader by the name of Joe Powell on the safety for the Arlington Renegades. I know since Leo's team is a big rival of Arlington, he's aware that Arlington didn't turn that season around last year until they got Joe Powell back. Somehow or another, I don't know how it happened. He's ex-Battlehawk, scored that touchdown on that kickoff return in XFL 2020, I believe, against the Guardians. Man, he's the quarterback of that defense, and they really missed his leadership and his ball hawking skills last year. And then I think around game 6 or 7, they brought Joe Powell back. And that defense and that team was totally different. Well, Joe Powell's back and is healthy, and we will see him Saturday. But I really think it's going to be a 3-point game either way. I would be surprised if otherwise. I'm looking forward to that game.
Yep. I will say that both Eric and Mike both took Arlington as well. So, Leo, I'm the only guy that you can hang your hat on. We're in this one together there, bud.
That's it, Ed. It's me and you against the world, man. I'm okay with it.
Just the two of us.
So why don't you give us some parting shots and let us know where we can find you and all that good stuff, and we'll let you get out of here. Like I say, I really appreciate you coming on in back-to-back weeks. I know with having another podcast, the time that it takes to do multiple shows a week. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no worries. I don't think I gave a score, so I'll do that now. I'm gonna go with 22-17 Brahmas. 22-17. It's gonna be a close one, and it's gonna be real ugly in the first half. That's my other prediction. Like most of the scoring is gonna happen in the second half, I think. Abby, you could see me on the Smoking Guns podcast. Myself, Philip Higginbotham, and RC Woods. We co-host a podcast that deals primarily right now with the San Antonio Gunslingers of the Indoor Football League, Indoor Football IFL. Their season just kicked off last week. So we're gonna be jumping around between that and UFL, and it's always fun this time of year. But we're big fans of all professional football in San Antonio. Definitely big Brahma fans and supporters. So horns forward for sure.
Well, thanks.
Good luck this season.
Thanks again, Leo, for joining us. And let's take a break. And when we come back, it'll be time to turn our attention to the Friday Night Light game to kick off the season. St. Louis at Houston. We'll be right back.
Hey.
Courtesy of the UFL, let's get this last game going. We'll start off with St. Louis, then we'll go into Houston.
We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the game. Touchdown! So let's get more. More action. More celebration. More electric battle dome. More football. More of what you love. We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the game. So let's get more. More action. More unforgettable. More swagger. More football. More of what you love.
So it's been a while since we had this guy on. He was with us in the team previews way back almost a month ago, I think. But had to make sure we had him back for this one as we talk about the opening of the season, Friday Night Lights. Let's bring on KJ. Hey, KJ, how are you doing? You got to take your mute off.
Sir, my apologies. Evening,
There you
y'all.
go.
KJ!
How y'all doing?
Look
Hey, man, football's here. You like football? We like football.
Friday cannot get here fast enough, man. Cannot get here fast enough.
Yep.
So is there a buzz?
I would say so. I noted they sent out emails. I don't know if I'm sure there's probably. I'm sure there's probably not another team doing it because we're the only Friday night game this week. But they had sent out an email. I believe it was on Tuesday, just yesterday, and I caught it like first thing this morning. I made a video about it on my page. But they're apparently, I guess, got a hour slot or short slot of time to nationally air early at Friday morning. So they invited fans to come out to the stadium. So I literally altered my flight. I was supposed to fly in at like noon on game day, and I found not red eye, I guess, but the opposite with Southwest to get there at like 1 a.m. Friday morning. And so I'm going to crash at the local Conrad Hilton College Hilton Hotel there on campus because it's a skip and a hop from the stadium. So hopefully be there with Rig Rockers, and I don't know if Mr. Predator are going to make it out, but I assume they will be amongst some other super fans that might be joining us for that little snippet.
So I was on the Texans Talking Football last night for their 100th episode. Congrats to them. And Big Rig and the Predator couple come on and decided they wanted to make a friendly wager with me for the game. And they're what they wanted me to do is if Houston won, they wanted me to shave my head. And
that doesn't seem like a big ask. Yeah,
I thought to myself, hell, I'm halfway there already.
Right.
That's not a big deal. I can do that.
Oh,
and then I thought about Mama Bear, and that wouldn't go over very well. So,
hey, how about the soul patch? You could have made that bet on the soul patch.
They wanted me to shave my head, and they wanted me to get rid of the goatee. Well, that's kind of become a signature, hasn't it? Just like KJ. Mine's a little different color than KJ.
I'll get there, no doubt.
So anyway, if I lose, I have a feeling it's going to cost me a substantial amount of battle chicken wings. And
I would just throw it out, Ed, and go with the mutton chop. I think you could totally pull that off.
But if St. Louis wins, you know who's getting a Predator couple mask. I'm getting one of those Predator masks. So I might even wear that on the next show.
There you go.
They're going to have to get that shipped up here pretty quick if that's the way it goes. So obviously Houston had a big turnover in their roster from last year to this year. KJ, if you're watching the game Friday night, what from what you've seen, what are you expecting? What's the new Houston Roughnecks going to look like?
I mean, it's hard to forecast what CJ has in his head to bring to kind of innovate the team holistically. Even reading through kind of the roster changes that you touched on, I see, a lot of the same components with having mobile quarterbacks, especially Anthony Smith. He's very similar to Nolan in the sense that they're both able to scramble easily, make action outside the pocket. I think for me, positionally, the two areas I'm going to be watching the most heavily, even though I think it's going to be a close game, is definitely the QB battle. Because I'm still surprised by the Wilkins selection. I partially understand it, but when you look at it on paper, it's like, I mean, Duggan must have just not done well in camp or something in my eyes. That's the only thing I can suffice to conclude. And then the other one that is a little surprising, I think most Roughnecks fans would agree, is I'd seen, I think it was James Larson released the depth chart for the game, and they have was it Lorenzo over Kirk Merritt for running back. And I mean, he was just, I think, last week, I don't know if it was an interview or just a direct media snippet the Roughnecks did with Coach, but he was talking about, the multifaceted component of how Kirk can play both running back and receiver. And, for him to say all that and then them dictate kind of, at least on the paper, that they're going, with a different starting guy was a little surprising for myself to see, I would say. So
my initial thought when I heard Manny Wilkins was going to get the start I think Coach Beck is showing signs of being playing this game conservatively. There's something to be said. Manny Wilkins now has been with the Battlehawks for several seasons now. And I think that he obviously must feel more comfortable in Manny Wilkins and the fact that Manny can lead the offense and not make the big mistakes. Whereas Dugan, if I remember right, when he played with TCU, he can have a great game, but when he gets rattled like he did in the national championship game, he can make a lot of bad mistakes. And I'm thinking that coach is kind of playing it on the conservative side, and he'll bring in Duggan probably in spots, but I think he's going to choose his battles, and I think he's going with the more conservative approach. That's why I think this game is going to end up being pretty low scoring. I think you're going to see two good defenses out there that are just going to try. The offenses are going to try not to make a mistake.
Might be some rough weather too Friday night. Maybe a chance of rain. Hopefully it'll be out there before game time, but that can make things interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't able to pull up the hourly forecast, but to your point, Brett, I did look at it, and it's been a rumbling buzz, I would say, within the group chats I'm a part of for the fan base.
Yeah,
I honestly, as much as I know it from a general sense, it could hurt, the turnout for attendance. I was looking back because this is something that spurred on my head. Part of the reason I chose to actually switched hats before hopping on tonight, but the Cougs, who traditionally play at TDCU, I was looking back historically because I've been to several games that we've had rain delays, thunderstorm delays, what have you, even as recently as last season when we upset Kansas State. I don't know if historically they have lost a game where we've had weather, specifically rain, at TDCU. So not to say that will automatically carry it over to our beloved Roughnecks, but if Mother Nature or the good Lord above is shining down upon us, then maybe this weather is actually a glimmer of sunshine, metaphorically speaking, and not a bad thing. But that's at least the way I'm looking at it. So,
well, it's actually disappointing to hear the weather for me as a St. Louis Battlehawk fan, just because last year I wanted to see them stretch the field so bad.
Right.
And it just seemed like they were way too conservative. They went with a short passing game, and they had way too many weapons to be that conservative as far as I was concerned. On the bright side, though, when you look at, a wet, rainy game type, St. Louis has got some pretty big boys. I mean, they got their tight ends, Sutherland. I think the other one is Allen. Allen's even bigger than Sutherland is. Then you've got Keem Butler. You've got Mims. He's a big guy. Then you've got Jakor in the slot. I mean, I think even in a short passing game, it's called you make a short catch, they miss the tackle for some reason, and then they're off to the races. So,
yep.
I don't know. But St. Louis going into this game healthy on defense. William Harvey is always right there leading the league in tackles every season. Mike Rose is a staple in the middle as long as he can stay healthy. They got a couple good edge rushers in Travis Feeney and Pita. And I know that Coach Beck put a lot of time and effort into beefing up the defensive tackle position. So there again, that to me that points towards a low-scoring game. What can you guys tell me about Houston's defense? I'm not as up to verse on the Houston defense.
We have, a good number of returners. I would say, to your point, as you kind of mentioned, but I think to touch on the secondary is where comparatively St. Louis is loaded when it comes to like return guys in the defensive backing group, if you will. They far outnumber what Houston has in terms of quantity, number of guys returning. I think out of our defensive line or the main line assembly, we've got I believe Christopher Allen, Glenn Logan, and Olive Sagapolu, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. All three returning. They were with us last year. I don't know if every one of them is technically starting. I think they are, but per their depth chart here. So, but it'll be interesting to see. I think the way I kind of graded, at least looking at both teams and the positional groups, trying to compare obviously with the depth chart that was just released, I was essentially given kind of the running back, tight end group, offensive line, and the defensive secondary all to St. Louis, just based on kind of historically, at least what I look at on paper and who they've got starting. And then on the opposite end, Houston, I kind of give the nod on QB, wide receivers. I think our defensive line is minutely better. But there again, I mean, it's a toss-up. It really is. I think all things considered, this game is played theoretically, which I know it won't be, but I'm going to say this just to kind of create a baseline. If the game is played perfectly from a like discipline execution standpoint, and Houston doesn't struggle with what essentially was one of its many or multiple Achilles heels last season, which was just basic, avoidance of penalties and discipline tackling, what have you. If all those things are set aside, I mean, this game essentially comes down to schematics and play calling, and to some degree, in my opinion. I think obviously the weather will play a factor in some focus or regard or another, but it's I don't feel like there's light years between the two rosters, I guess is the best way to put it.
The characteristic that I kind of hang my hat on is a Coach Beck team seems to really be disciplined. They were by far the least penalized team in the UFL this last season. I know that doesn't make any difference in this year's team, but I think when you look at the core of the team returning that they had last year, I think you're going to see a very disciplined team that if Houston is going to win this game, they're going to have to earn it, because I just don't think that St. Louis is going to hand it to them. So,
no, I don't disagree. I think to your point, if you have to, as a coaching staff, if you have to focus on addressing that, not just week one, but multiple weeks into the season, it immediately detracts from, how you could be developing greater scheme play, order of play calling, what have you, to make your team more dynamic and a formidable opponent. And yeah, to your point, if you can come out week one and all those things are those are boxes that are checked and not an open-ended issue, it obviously makes for an automatically easier team. So, but
got some comments from the.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
So
got some comments coming in. It's kind of looks like maybe we have more Houston fans right now than the other way around, but.
I'm excited to see this will probably trail beyond just week one, but it could potentially end up becoming the deciding factor of this game is on the special team side. Looking back kind of on the end, as I mentioned, I gave kind of the kicker role nod to Houston, but even in saying that, in one of my previous Fun Day Friday episodes, I mentioned that I was slightly surprised that they went with Blewett over JJ Molson when we kind of narrowed down the rosters and, they finalized who they were taking after camp or at the end of camp. Both guys aren't necessarily far apart in terms of stats, but the one thing I noted from Molson's history last year was he had more opportunities, I guess, to make the deeper field goal kicks than Blewett did. And so it's one of those things in my eyes, especially how we've seen how well Bates did the year before last, I guess it was. Or was it last year? I'm getting my dates confused. But anyways, if that component plays a factor in these games that are so close, in my eyes, almost as great as it is to have a kicker with high efficiency in making his kicks, if you've got the guy that can make the deeper bombs better than the other dude, it's almost the risk worth taking in my eyes. But we'll see how that plays out. I thought it was funny to see that they picked up Blewett and then Birmingham picked up JJ. So it's like they quasi traded, even though they didn't. So I think if anybody wants to have fun between the Houston and the Birmingham fan bases, just compare the kickers all season and you'll see how things turn out. So made the right call.
And I think this game Friday night, from what I've been looking at, and I'm so excited and intrigued about it, is getting the Roughnecks back to TD-ECU Stadium, and then the total roster overhaul. I know CJ's back. He's got a new offensive line coach, obviously. Everybody's very aware of him and his background. But, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm thinking out of 50 roster players, there's probably not 8 or 10 that are returning from last season. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but do we know right off? I mean, I know I can look it up, but you don't really know what you're going to get with Houston this season from that standpoint. They've got talent, but there's going to be a lot of guys that end up on both sides of the ball for Houston that are going to probably be diamonds in the rough that we're not very familiar with their roster overall. And I'm excited between this game and then Memphis and Michigan. It's going to be very intriguing because both of those teams really changed a lot of the players from the previous season.
Yeah, they have a good number returning. I would say, I think to your point, Brett, like 2 of the guys that I highlighted to look out for, or 3 really, but on the secondary end was Sean Preston, the Mississippi State grad. I think he finished in 23, didn't have any NFL play time that I saw, but he looked encouraging from his stat component. He had 3 picks, I think, in that final year he was at Mississippi State.
I remember him very well. Yes, sir.
If he can light it up and help us, contain and play sound defense against the deep balls, as Ed pointed out, if they do try to make those throws, I think that'll help us. The 2 defensive guys that are new this year that I noted, at least looking at our depth chart and such, is TJ Franklin and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but the kid from Charlotte. Both of them, I mean, were high in the sack category from their collegiate years, and they both graduated in 23 or finished in 23. So it'll be interesting to see. I think I saw Los Mysterio mention something about Molson being hurt. I didn't know if I didn't even hear about that or know that was a thing. So that's
me neither.
Separate topic, but those would be a few guys I would mention that I would be interested to see if they, as you pointed out, light it up and surprise people. So
it'll be very intriguing. And we have bottom line crew. We have behind the scenes chats and stuff, and we talk about the league and what's going on in each teams and moves that are made. And me and Ed and Eric, and I mentioned it to them. We all have our favorite teams, but we want the league to succeed. But I mentioned, with Wilkins being named the starter at St. Louis, to me, I think from A to Z, St. Louis might have the most talented roster in the league, but we all know how important the quarterback position is. And I don't think any of us are real sold on where St. Louis is going to end up this season if Wilkins is, in fact, the starter, like you had mentioned. That was surprising. Now, I heard that Duggan was going to get some playing time, Friday, but I expected just, what do I know? But I thought Wilkins would end up the third string, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so, they made. I think it was even mentioned during camp that they said that the battle at some point between Duggan and the kid from, I don't know if it's San Jose State or wherever he's from.
Yeah.
That they were, both performing well or something to that effect. I forget the exact verbiage that was used, but yeah, I'm just surprised as you are, Brett. I think if Ed's point is true and all they're looking for, all that coach is looking for is a game manager, then yeah, I mean, in a sense, Wilkins could be that guy. But I mean, you're asking that of a team that is essentially known for its passing game. Not to say that they don't have running power, they do, but it's like you have to orchestrate the team on the offensive side of the ball in a way that you use those 2 components in a tango and a waltz. If you're only going to have a game manager, you know what I mean? That's just my opinion.
I mean, they're loaded with weapons, and I'm still curious. We all try to get all the information we can behind the scenes and from insiders and our connections with the league. I'm still real curious to really what happened with the AJ situation in St. Louis. And I think I mentioned it to Ed and Eric last night or the night before, really surprised that they did what they did with AJ and not have more of a backup plan. You just thought they had somebody sitting there that you're going to be like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
You're right. And it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna attempt to say what happened. But I definitely feel that something definitely went south between the head coach and him. But that's just me going out on a limb. And do I know anything whatsoever about it? No, not a bit. But looking at Manny Wilkins starting the game, I think that Coach Beck is more than willing to grind out a low-scoring win or conservative game plan, however you want to mention it. As long as St. Louis is in the lead, I think he's going to be willing to leave Wilkins in there. I think his hand gets forced if St. Louis falls behind early. And they need to try and push the ball down the field and create some scoring opportunities. Then I think you put in more of a gunslinger in there, because I don't look at Manny as somebody that's going to be able to bring a team back quickly. I just don't. So I wish I had the opportunity to ask Coach Beck a couple questions, but again, like we heard with Coach Holtz, they're going to tell you what they want you to know, and the real truth could be totally different. So, no, I think we could probably get to our picks. I'm going to let KJ go first again, and then I'll tell you how the bottom line crew went with the game. But why don't you give me your thoughts on the game? What you're going to be feeling good about. If the game is going a certain way, if you're going to be feeling good, that kind of thing, and then maybe throw a score out and who you pick for the win.
I personally think and this is in some degree me being superstitious. I think there's too many other foreseeable stars aligned that just speak too much to me to want to still have hope in us pulling out a W. And I made the pick, I think, actually just last week, I want to say on my last Fun Day Friday episode, I made a bold prediction on it that we would win by a 3-point margin. I was initially thinking a higher score number, but after hearing you talk it, I think there is some justification and logic and respectfully considering that it's probably going to be lower than what a lot of people think. With that being said, and I still in my gut, I feel like this is low, but I guess I'm just used to seeing the gun shooting games. I'm going to say 14-11 Houston at the end of the day, but we'll see if that actually pans out. It really, I think to that point, depends on the weather. If it's really bad raining, then yeah, you're not going to be seeing no, Jim Kelly deep air balls, so or whatever. But we'll see.
What's your thoughts, Brett?
I can't agree even more. I just I think we could see some upsets this weekend, especially the first week or two, because not everybody's in rhythm. They've had a couple little scrimmages, I think 14, 15 practices. Nobody in my eyes is going to be gelling. If there is one team that might be, because the core coaching staff, rosters, everything is pretty much in place from last season, I would go with the Michigan Panthers. But this game is going to be very low scoring. I do have St. Louis winning a very close one. Still don't know a lot of what we're going to get out of Houston this year. I think their offensive line is going to be greatly improved, which was one of their real weaknesses last season. I wish the game, what do we got, a day and a wake up, or however they say it. It's just right around the corner.
Brock went out on a limb here.
Yeah, I love to sarcasm. I saw that comments like, "Where is Captain Obvious's hat? He needs to put it
down." So anyway, then he got serious and called it Battlehawks 23, Roughnecks 14. Last night on Texans Talking Football, my prediction was Battlehawks 23, Roughnecks 17. So pretty close.
I think like we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years with spring football, whether it was the AAF, USFL, XFL, and now the UFL, if you got to bet on these games, more than likely first week or two, I would definitely take the under. I mean, that's just typically that'll get you like what Greg McElroy said last season or season before. That'll get you 70% winning percentage the first week or two. If you got to bet, don't bet your house payment, but bet on the under if you are going to bet.
We got DJ saying Battlehawks by 10. Lost saying Roughnecks by 7.
I didn't bet the house payment, Brett, but I did throw just a whimsical $50 on the DraftKings odds. Just, you know what? Let's just say CJ turns into a unicorn from another universe and we just get the championship, because I'm down to win a free $900. But we'll see.
So I'll tell you what, I'm not going to lie. I thought about doing it myself. I'd be like, man, this would be like the USA beating Russia in soccer back in the day. You mean, you don't ever know. I remember the Vipers in XFL 2020 was the preseason favorite. Then in the USFL, Birmingham was the highest underdog the first year and won it. Who was the favorite? Michigan was the biggest underdog, I think, last year and made it to the UFL champion or to the USFL conference championship game. So you don't ever know.
We had a lot of polarity, I think, in a lot of the preseason rankings last year. That is very true.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what goes down and transpires as we go through the season for sure.
Yeah.
So it was actually a clean sweep for the Bottom Line crew. Mike, Eric, Brent, and myself all took St. Louis, but it would not shock me if Houston won this game. I know that the Predator couple and Big Rig were trying to convince me that big time last night. But anyway, I'm going to be watching from Ballpark Village. I know there'll be a watch party in downtown St. Louis, and it happens to be just a cool 4 blocks from where I work. I look out my window during the work day and see the arch right out the window. So
there you go.
Ballpark Village is within walking distance. Just keep in mind, though, it's downtown St. Louis, so I will not be walking those 4 blocks to Ballpark. But no, I can't wait for Friday night. I'm ready to get the season kicked off and see where we go with this. I know that there's the elephant in the room that's got to be settled here between now and Friday kickoff. And either one of you have any thoughts on, has there been anything that's broke tonight? Has there been any new news as far as the labor negotiations that either one of you know of?
I will claim full ignorance in that thing.
I know you didn't just open the door for me on this subject.
No,
I know you did.
Actually, I did. The minute I said it, I thought to myself, damn.
Shut up,
Hold on. Can I stretch and go get another Mountain Dew? Look, if all the viewers have kind of noticed how we run this show, and we were really all in agreement about this. We're very pro league. We're all fans. We want the very best for the league and the players. I don't think there's anybody I've talked to online and I've spoke to privately that does not want these guys to be making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a season. None of us would have a problem with that. They bust their tails. They put their health and safety on the line. I've said it till I'm blue in the face. I just feel like this is a really bad time for both the league and the players for this to be going on. And I saw a comment in the comment section earlier. What do you think about the strike? Well, we're not a fear-mongering UFL group. We don't say things like the league's going to fail after 1 year like some shows do. We don't say the league's going to shut down halfway through the season like some shows do, just to create drama. And whatever. The league is stable. The ownerships are very, very committed, but this is definitely not a time for, from what I gather, the union to be asking for as much as they're asking for. I get it. They're supposed to represent the players. But we need to get this season kicked off and grow this thing, grow the ratings. And I really feel like we're headed in the right direction with that. We've still got some things we've got to adjust and fix with the attendances. But the sky is falling and the fear mongering and all that does no good for nobody. And look, these guys want an opportunity. They need film. They want to get back in the league. They want to help support their families, and go on and on and on. From what I gather, there's liable to be something happen tomorrow. But I believe the players are going to play either way, from what I gather. But I do understand that both sides are very far apart, which has had me kind of with a target on my back with some of my statements online. And let's just be honest, any new business, for the first few years loses money. Name one other business where you're working for someone. I'm working for KJ. He just started a new business, whatever it is. And been working for him for a year. And I know KJ's still losing X amount of dollars every year. Am I going to go to KJ and ask for a raise? Where do they do that at? And I'll probably just stop there. But we're going to have a season. Again, the owners are very committed. I'm excited. I hate that this has dampened a lot of spirits before the season. I think it's probably hurt ticket sales. It's frustrated some fans, and I'm sure players with that guy with the union that is supposedly asking for so much it wasn't a good time, and it doesn't need to be transpiring. But we're going to have a season, and it's going to be an awesome season. And I'm probably going to shut up.
And I was going to ask for KJ's thoughts, but
only thing I'll say,
KJ.
I fully and humbly claim ignorance when it comes to being a sports expert on collective bargaining agreements. I haven't, even in my days of being an NFL fanboy, I was not that dedicated to know the intricacies of it all. One thing I will say, and you did kind of touch on this, Brett, but the ownership factor, I think we already know this because from a sports standpoint in general, it's good if you can have a broadcast company as an ownership group because they have an even greater vested interest than your general Joe Blow. I say Joe Blow, any grandiose third-party investment corporation that doesn't give two shits about the finer granular components of what they're investing in. They're only investing in it for a turnover and the ROI, which is I'm sure true for the broadcast companies too. But because that is their niche as a business, they almost pair up, seamlessly. So I say all that to say, while if we were still in the situation with like the XFL of 2023, I guess, and Redbird was the big dog investment at the house and there was nobody else at the table, yeah, I think then people should be scared because you don't have a broadcast company going, we've been here before. We also, we have a vested interest in the NFL too. We've seen this thing before. We know how it works. So they're less likely to get gun shy from it, I guess is the best thing I could say. No matter, what the timetable on it and how long it takes to get finalized and settled. So that's the one thing I can say confidently. I think that having ESPN and Fox at the table helps us, helps the league holistically in that sense. How it all pans out, we'll just have to wait and see. So
yeah, I do feel that we need to let the owners and the players hash it out, and us as fans stay out of it. I know that I was on Facebook today. I saw several comments about fans that have decided not to go to a game this weekend, out of fear that there's not going to be games, and then they're out their money because they bought the tickets and I get all that. I would just caution the fear mongering. It's one thing to be concerned for the survival of the league. It's another thing to create even more apprehension out there.
Yeah.
That's going to make fans less likely to go to a game, because when you play a part in keeping fans away, and then you want to turn around after the game is over and look at the attendance and say, look at the attendance, how bad it was.
Right.
This league's going under. Well, the very thing that caused that attendance to go down may be the ones that had the loudest mouth before the game was being played to begin with. So,
yeah, this ain't a Chicken Little movie or the spaghetti and meatballs falling from the sky. Like, most people wouldn't believe you when you bring up the doom and gloom in those films. This is real life, and as we all know, the media feeds on the negative. It's a toxic drug.
Yep.
Get it in no matter what platform you talk about. So I think, to that point, to y'all's point, that does no good for the league. It doesn't help any metric that's going to, I guess, boost the league and help it to grow and be productive and successful long term. And it just, yeah.
I feel like some people does that because they've got an ulterior motive. And, if they've got something against the league or spring football, nobody's forcing you to cover it. Nobody's forcing you to watch it. Just move along. But
so with that said, we're probably going to get off this subject because, when I start seeing the steam coming off of my co-host's top of his head, it's like, well, maybe it's time to get while the getting's good. So with that said, KJ, why don't you give yourself a shameless plug, and we'll let you get on your way. We really appreciate you joining us. And again, it won't be the last time. I really enjoy having you on, and I know the viewers enjoy it when we have you on the show too. So,
yeah, KJ Disciple Peas, the go-to name, moniker. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Exact same call sign for both pages. Every week, Fun Day Friday is a short 15-minute or approximate 15-minute video excerpt I do to give news updates, talk about viral trending topics, and give a bold prediction every single week on my Facebook page. Thankful to just hitting the 100 follower mark on that, so I can now do live videos to share with the fan populace. But feel free to check that out. And also tune in. I started it this week, didn't have a huge amount of participation this go round, but every week I'll be doing drawings for free tickets. So people stay posted for that if you're interested in getting a single or even possibly 2 free tickets to a game. If you're a Houston fan or a Roughnecks fan or never been to a game and want to give it a shot but don't want to spend the money to go to a game. So,
well, thanks again, KJ, and we will have you on again. Thanks.
Good luck Friday, man, and be safe in your travels.
Drill, baby, drill. Let's go. Let's go to work.
Drill, baby, drill.
So, Brett, it's about that time where we tell all the fans that we hope their team wins.
What about our picks? Are we going to share our picks?
Oh yeah. Well, I've been giving the picks as we go, but let's put the magical board up there, because I know somebody who spent a lot of time putting this together. So I need to give him his due.
Well, we just need to keep up with the records, because I think eventually I'm going to have a shot at winning this. Wow, was it that small? I need.
So
that's what she said.
So we got a clean sweep for St. Louis, clean sweep for Michigan and Birmingham. The only one that went out on a limb at all this week was yours truly, taking San Antonio over Arlington. And as good as I think Arlington's going to be this year, I don't think it's necessarily going out on a limb to take San Antonio in this one. So got a game Friday night lights, Houston, St. Louis. We got a game on Saturday. I follow that up by a doubleheader matinee on Sunday. So really looking forward to the football games. And what's even a bonus this year is that we get to be a part of the post-game press conferences. And even in the cities that we're not able to attend the game in person, we get a chance to do Zoom conference afterwards. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome.
Well, I think next week I need to enlarge that. Either that or I need to go get my eyes checked.
Oh, I think it works. It just, you know what it screams, don't you? It screams that we need to have viewers make their way to YouTube where they can watch our show on a 75-incher. And this is going to look a whole lot different on a big screen TV. So
no doubt about it.
Why don't you give our big thanks to all the pages and everything, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, thanks, XFL Conference, UFL America, and Jay. He does a great job. Of course, our group, UFL Fans, all the team groups. Shout out to Andy that handles UFL Access, Zach and Ref with Newsroom. They're having their spring stock, summer stock, whatever they call it. They're going to be there in Houston doing a live show tomorrow or Friday night. Just shout out to the UFL community, and let's continue to help promote this, get it more mainstream. And again, I'm a closet Michigan Panther fan. There went one of the Panthers, and I guess I'm done for the night. Let me get off here.
Yeah, and I want to thank all the St. Louis Battlehawk pages. There's several pages. Tailgating group. There's original fan page. There's St. Louis football history, that kind of. Then we got what is it? Broadway. There's all kind of Battlehawk groups. We'll try and do a better job week to week of some of our different cities, giving you pages so that you can join the pages in your city and get the latest and greatest on all your favorite teams. So with that said, hope your team wins this weekend. Hope we see 4 fantastic football games. And with that said, enjoy football this weekend. And we will see you again, as usual, next Wednesday at 8 o'clock Central for another 2 hours of breaking down week 1 and getting ready for week 2. We'll see everybody.
And that's the bottom line.